travel, and business to the human brain. Follow the So What
Nie,
from
znowu jakieś
BCG wherever you
siły
find your
piekielne mnie
podcast.
wyrzucają z transmisji.
Hi, this is Adam
Patrzcie,
Grant, host
skrzydełko.
of the TED podcast Work Life. This season, we worked with
Z
our
kością.
sponsor Morgan Stanley to share amazing stories from their workplace. Stay tuned for a story from Erica, a single stay-at-home mom who found the support and confidence she needed to re-enter the workforce.
So, who am I? My name is Kedra Newsom-Reeves. I'm a consultant, again, for banking institutions,
Skóra,
hedge funds,
podstawa.
asset managers. But before any of that, I'm a Black American who's the descendant of slaves. And when we talk about the wealth gap, it's really important to understand the history. So I thought I'd tell a little story about a family, my family, and how policy intersects with wealth. So I'll start with my great-great-grandfather. He was a man named Silas Newsom, and Silas was born a slave outside Nashville, Tennessee, in Newsom Station, where he and his family worked on a quarry. He didn't own anything. He didn't own his home. He didn't own property. He didn't really even own his own body, his own labor, his children, any of those things. All of those things were here to create wealth for someone else. So we believe that he was a servant during the Civil War for a Confederate general who was actually fighting to keep him enslaved. So he really had no wealth. He had no control over his life. Well, at the end of slavery, there was a policy opportunity. There was a question. What do we do for the hundreds of years of slavery now that we are ending slavery and the country is coming together? And there was a choice. We could make a settlement with the slaves, or we can make a settlement with the slave owners. Well, the slaves had no power to advocate for themselves in that moment, and the country had to be united. So the federal government decided to give that settlement to slave owners, essentially giving them money for the property that they had lost at the end of the war. And not their physical property, not their homes, but people, the slaves that had provided free labor for years and decades. So Silas, at the end of the Civil War, had no wealth. He was free, but had no wealth. He became a sharecropper. My great-grandfather Silas was born a number of years after the end of slavery, and he was drafted to serve in World War I, along with 350,000 other Black American soldiers in segregated units. He served in the war. When he came back to the United States, at the end of the war, it was a very anti-Black sentiment. The economy was compressing, there were a lot of stressors, and Black people could not get land, they could not get loans for homes. They really could not acquire any credit to build wealth over time. So he also became a farmer. And he had a son, also named Silas. There are a lot of Silases in my family. My grandfather Silas was also a soldier and fought in World War II. After World War II, the U.S. federal government passed the GI Bill, which provided support for veterans. The bill provided for building of hospitals, student loans, and most importantly, for wealth building, low-interest home mortgages for veterans. In the years following the war, the GI Bill accounted for $4 billion of funding to 9 million veterans, but Black veterans largely did not benefit. So Silas, my grandfather, came back to Nashville, Tennessee, and he married my grandmother, whose name is Cinderella. Yes, my grandmother's name was Cinderella. And they had 8 children. They never bought a home. And the highlight of their housing journey was moving into a new public housing project with their children and paying rent for that housing project, which in terms of the quality of housing was fantastic for them and a step up, but did not allow them to build wealth. My father, another soldier, a 20-year veteran of the United States Marines, bought his first home in his early 50s. But it took 4 generations for our family to move into home ownership and begin to build ownership and equity in a home. That's one family story, and I skipped a lot of things that happened between the end of slavery and today. Redlining, housing discrimination before the Fair Housing Act in the 1970s, the really important role that Black-owned banks played in building Black communities. The savings and loan crisis of the 1980s, which crushed a lot of Black banks, and the subprime crisis in 2008, which stripped a lot of Black and brown homeowners of their homes. There's a lot of history there, but that story tells you a bit about how we get to this 10x gap where we are today. Now, certainly, as we think about the size of that gap, it is critical for the federal government to take a number of actions. That said, financial institutions play a really important role in providing access to credit, access to capital, to build communities and allow Black communities to thrive. We have to be clear. Managing $17,000 better does not get us there. Better education does not get us there. Access to credit and capital are critical. So I want to talk about 4 solutions.
Trochę wylizać, trochę w spodnie, trochę w bluzę.
The wealth gap.
I winogronkę na deser.
Number 1 is getting more people on the ladder. Getting more people banked. We know today that about half of Black Americans are or underbanked. Unbanked means that you don't have a banking account. Underbanked means that you have a bank account, but you use alternative services for check cashing or payday lending or paying bills. And that's not just expensive from a transaction perspective in terms of the fees that you pay, it's also expensive in terms of the time that you commit to paying a bill. Think about how you pay your utility bill today. Probably comes out of your checking account. You don't even think about it. You set it up in advance and it's automatic. Well, if you're unbanked, you are probably going to get a money order somewhere, physically, a piece of paper. You then travel
Mi się wydaje, że jak winogrona mają dużo pestek, to są zdrowe. Pestki są zdrowe. Ale nie mają dużo pestek. Winogrona są zdrowe czy nie? Powiem wam tylko tyle. Wszędzie chcą was wyruchać, kurde, wszędzie. Taka jest prawda. Jeszcze coś bym sobie zjadł. Czekoladę mam chyba jeszcze. Czekoladę sobie zjem. Ciemną czekoladę. 90 sobie kupiłem.
Champions League.
Das ist so unfassbar, oder? Gestern gespielt, dann, was wir nicht so lange feiern, früh aufgestanden, arbeiten, dann wieder ins Training. Hey, wow.
Das ist irgendwie so Stück konfus.
Auf SRF 3.
Pomocy! Dobry jest obraz. Oglądam siebie.
Mamy taką bazę danych, po prostu ona będzie aktualizowana. Informacje może Pan uzyskać albo w straży pożarnej, albo tutaj w albo w straży pożarnej,
Pani teraz tkwi po prostu, czy Pani żartuje, że straż pożarna jest powołana do całkiem czego innego.
ale ona aktualizuje te dane.
Straż pożarna, ci ludzie, którzy mają dbać o bezpieczeństwo domostwa nie spaliły.
ist in der Nordostschweiz. Dort könnte es sein, dass es den ganzen Tag grau bleibt. Wenn man so ein bisschen im Nebel steckt, dann ist man oft ein bisschen eifersüchtig auf die Leute, die in den Bergen sind. Eben, das kann man auch heute sein. Dort sieht man die Sonne schon häufig und kann Energie tanken. Aber auch in den Bergen, da hat es Wolken unterwegs. Und am Nachmittag ist dann im Gegensatz zum Flachland in den Bergen ein Regensprutz möglich. Die Luft, die ist noch warm. Die Höchstwerte sind dann bei 15 bis 20 Grad, je nachdem wie gut die Sonne noch durchkommt.
Ich bin gerade hängen geblieben, wo du gesagt hast, mit der Sonne. Ich finde es so schön, dass in der Sonne kannst du eben Energie tanken, ohne dass du allzu viel machen musst. Das ist eben das Problem. Und es bleibt weiterhin so ein bisschen ungerecht verteilt.
Ja, nur noch morgen am Morgen, da haben wir wirklich wieder Nebel, aber wir haben auch noch eine Front, die noch näher kommt. Der Nebel, der ist am Morgen vor allem im Mittelland und eben außerhalb vom Nebel, da hat es am Morgen zwar schon ein paar Schleier, aber die Sonne... die
Pozdrawiam, Krzysztof.
Aber nachher morgen ziehen dann dichte Wolken von West nach Ost übers Land. Regen gibt es dann aber erst am Abend und in der Nacht dann vor allem in der Bergregion.
Backnotch?
Die Zeit ist mild, viel zu mild ist es jetzt schon.
Ja, genau, aber es wird dann wirklich noch milder aufs Wochenende. Schon am Samstag da steigen die Temperaturen wieder gegen 20 Grad. Da ist es vor allem auf dem Nordrand von der Schweiz noch bewölkt und regnerisch. Sonst wird es langsam sonniger. Am Sonntag da wird es ziemlich sonnig und sehr mild mit 20 bis lokal 24 Grad.
SRF 3 Wetter.
Kurde, trzeba się już zbierać niestety. Koniec tego dobrego. Teraz się przejadłem. Motyl mnie atakuje. Motyl chce szturmować moje auto. A te niewychowane motyle.